If you are new to our High Priest channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back.
We're going to show you the difference between God and Jesus. All right. Now let's look at the beginning. Let's go to Genesis. Okay, Genesis 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5 here in Genesis 1. It says, "In the beginning God created heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." And now note verse 3 says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning was the first day." In verse 6, I'm going to read this part of it, and it says, "And God said," okay, the point that I'm trying to make is whenever God shows up, God identifies himself as God. He identifies himself as the creator, okay? He's supreme. Now, that being said, let us move a little further. Let us go to the book of Exodus. All right, Exodus chapter 3. Let us start with verses 3. Exodus 3, verse 3. It says, "And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt." Okay, now Moses has seen a bush that is consumed with fire, and it's continually burning. All right, and now look what verse 4 says. It says, and when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him." Now see that? God called unto him out of the midst of the burning bush and said, "Moses, Moses." See, God always identifies himself. But now, if you look at Jesus over in the book of Acts, talking about Paul, he says that this is Jesus. But yet and still, that is Jesus' book, and then this is God's book. And the Old Testament is God's book, and the New Testament is Jesus' book. He copies. He tries to mimic everything that God does in the Old Testament, but he can't do it. Anyway, let us look here. He calls Moses by his name. He says, "Here I am." And he said, "Draw nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for this place whereon thou standest is holy ground." Okay, we're gonna move quickly here because I got a lot to read. It said, Moses said, "I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmaster, for I know their sorrows. Now verse 80 says, now notice this right here. Now Yah and Moses have had a conversation, and Yah said that he have seen the affliction of his people. Now verse 8 says, look, now he says, "And I am come down." Note what he says. God saying that, talking to Moses, talking to a man. Now he says, "I have come down." Note that he says, "I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians." Now notice, now God is saying here, this is very prudent. He said that I have left my throne. I have left the throne room, and I have came down to talk to a man. Okay, now, and that being said, let us jump over here to Matthew, the 3rd chapter. Now I'm going to show you the difference here. Matthew 3, because we're gonna come back to Exodus. Matthew 3. Let us go there real quick. And now look what he says in Matthew, the 3rd chapter, verses 16 and 17. And look what he says here. It says, "And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens was open unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, and lightning upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Now, nobody say a voice. It could have been any damn body. It didn't say God, but we have been taught that it was God, but here we can plainly see that God's name is not even mentioned. He says that it is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. That could be anybody. But here we see in the Old Testament, God here said that he came down to Moses, here a mere man, but yet and still here we see supposedly this is his son, but God never comes down. He's still in heaven. Now, does that make any sense to y'all at all? I know it don't. But we're going to go a little further. Let us go back to Exodus.
Click on the link in the description for the teaching and subscribe if you believe we should only obey the voice of the Most High God as commanded and no one else.